Good to go. Good afternoon. Yes, boss. Woo! What a week, man. It's been flat out. Crikey, is it cold at your place? It is freezing here. Unbelievable. But I'm definitely not a winter bunny, eh? I'll just we've got the fire cranking outside. We've got some visitors coming over this evening. So I'm not going to go 100 mile an hour tonight. Well, actually, I'm going to go 100 mile an hour, but not for very long. So we're just going to bang it out this evening. If you've got any questions, welcome to our Sunday afternoon live. If you've got any questions, make sure you bung them up on the screen. We've got a heap of questions that have come in during the week. Looking forward to answering those as we crank into it this evening. And we've had a great week. It's been really good. And this week, oh my gosh. They really stoked with the staff. We're banging these tiny houses out. We're doing them quicker than expected. And what's happening is I've got 2 full-time painters, and we're, at the moment they're about 4 tiny houses behind. So long story short, Shani put out on the net this week to try to pick up some more painters. Anyway, we finally got ourselves another painter as well. So we'll have 3 painters in the crew just to try to keep up and bring us back up to speed. So yeah, it's just, there's so much involved. I don't think, even though we're talking tiny houses, I don't think people realise how much is involved with tiny houses. There's so much painting. When you got, we've had our window companies turn up, and they say, Rick, there's more windows in your tiny homes than there is in the project homes. You know, what's going on? It's just because they're bigger than people actually think. So that means if you've got as many windows as there is in a project home, that means there's just as much painting, because it's easy to paint a wall. But of course, then with the tiny homes, there's so much detail to be able to paint the actual corners and the ceilings and all that sort of stuff. So then there's skirtings, architraves. So there's so much involved. And even our kitchen company, Benny's Joinery, the guys, when they turn up with our kitchens, it's like, Rick, we've filled the truck with your cabinetry. What's going on? These are only tiny homes, but they're getting bigger and bigger. You got more and more cabinetry in your tiny homes. You know, so it's just crazy. Actually, just something too. With our homes, 7.2, 8.2, and as you're aware, we build the 3 metre wide homes as well as the 2.4 metre wide homes. We design them with the appropriate amount of cabinetry that so pacifies, so we stay within our 4.5 tonne, give or take, you know. So then when our clients actually choose extra over cabinetry, which is fine, we can do it, but what that means is sometimes we've got to keep cabinetry out or pull other stuff off the tiny home. Like, as example, our deck and awnings may have to be taken off the tiny home, which then turns it into a 2-man delivery, because obviously just one man, that'll be me, can't put the deck and awnings on by myself. It's all right if they're attached to the tiny home on the hinges, but if we've actually got to resurrect them on the actual tiny home, it's actually a 2-man job. G'day Roy, how you going, mate? So what that means is, so just be mindful of that. The existing homes, as designed, meet the weight limits, but when our clients choose extra over, even windows. When we cut out, people sort of think, oh, well, if you're taking out 2 square metres to put a window in, windows only got glass in it, it'd be the same weight. But in actual fact, windows are heavier than the walling material, which is the refrigeration panel, okay? So a window, by the time you've got the reveals around the window, the glass, the aluminium and all that stuff, it actually adds up to more than the square metre or 2 square metres of panelling that we've just cut out. Because then there's all the flashings and the timber, the battens that go around the outside of the window itself externally. So all of that adds to the actual weight. And no doubt all the tiny house builders are out there, we all, because we're trying to build bigger homes, and we all, as much as possible, try to keep within our weight restrictions that we've got to do. So, because it is policed, and we've got to stay on top of things. So I think the whole industry and everyone's sort of doing the best they can when it comes to weight. Any that, for me, especially if I'm travelling out of town a fair distance, because our overall our truck and tiny house, we've got an overall, our truck's registered at 16 tonne GVM. That means the gross weight. That means we've got to pull in, Havenwood's got to pull in at every weighbridge, okay? Someone's got to go across the weighbridge, they check us out and make sure we're on the money. So Some of the homes do get delivered with Dodge Rams, which is probably a little bit hairy because your Dodge Rams can take 4.5 tonne. Actually, in fact, they can improve I think it's to do with the shocks and whatnot and the springs. You can actually upgrade the Dodge Rams to do more than 4.5 tonne, but I don't think too much more. But still, in saying that, if you're humping 4.5 tonne a tiny home behind a little Dodge Ram, I reckon it should be a bit hairy. Because the last thing you want to do is get the death wobbles. I mean, there's been a couple of homes come unstuck. They've got the death wobbles. That means perhaps the balance of the tiny home wasn't quite right. If you don't have enough weight on the ball, that's another critical thing, especially for the new builders out there. You've got to keep a look, or keep a check on your weight and your balance. If you don't get, the optimum is 10% of the weight of the tiny home on the ball. So we're talking 4.5 tonne, you're looking at about 450 kilos on the ball of the towing vehicle. What that does is that means as you travel on the road, you haven't got too much weight at the back end or past the wheels. So it keeps the balance just right with the weight actually on the front of the tiny home, which is on the back, which is on the hitch of the actual towing vehicle. I don't know if you've ever towed a trailer that's got too much weight at the back, like a little box trailer even, and they get the death wobbles. It's really scary stuff. I mean, I've done it. I've been there, done that, but fortunately just with box trailers, not with tiny homes. So at this stage, we've sort of come to the happy medium of where we're really comfortable with the balance of our tiny homes and not too much weight. Of course, you can't have too much weight on your ball as well. I've heard some guys that they've got up to a tonne on the ball, and that's well over the top from my point of view, because what that means is you've got a tonne on the A-frame of that tiny home itself, on the front of the tiny home. Now, A-frames aren't designed to carry a tonne. You know, that's a lot of weight. So you just got to be real careful, but do your sums, do your homework, and there's no real science to it. You can't just go to a textbook and say, okay, this is what I've got to do. It really is a bit of trial and error. But if you really log your details and even we get a mobile guy in with scales to weigh our tiny homes. So I don't have to do them all, but most of the homes I do actually weigh, especially if I think they're getting up there in weight, just to be sure that sometimes we might have to take some gear out of the tiny home for the actual delivery itself, you know. So, but in saying that, hey, listen, I've got a mountain of questions here, so I'm going to start cracking into them. And if you've got any questions, make sure you bung them up on the screen as we go. Hey, last weekend, the reason I was away last week, I actually took, I've been doing this for about 15 years now. I call it a man versus wild weekend. We go out to redneck country. My uncle's got 5,000 acres out at the Warrumbungle Mountains. It's about an 8-hour trip for us fellas from where we are. And this year we had 27 guys come out there, and we had an absolute ball. And you know what I love? You got young guys and people off the coast. They've never shot a gun before. They've never been four-wheel driving before. They've never ridden a motorbike before. They've never rock climbed before. They've never done clay pigeon shooting before. Never shot a 308 before. And just to see the buzz that these guys get, you know, like it really. A lot of the guys that are in the city or on the coast, they don't get this opportunity to do some of the stuff that I grew up doing as a kid. So I just sort of take it for granted. And but then when I got chatting to some fellas, this was about 15 years ago in the church I was going to at the time, and these guys had never done this stuff, never been to a rodeo before, you know. So man, what can I do to show these guys some of the joy I had as a kid growing up, just to do this total redneck stuff? And like, I love it. Like, for me, I get a thrill out of it. And probably the biggest thrill I get is seeing guys enjoying themselves so much doing this sort of weekend, you know. So we had a ball, and the best part was no major injuries. Well, there's one that probably needed stitches, but we just bunged a couple of band-aids on it, she'll be right. But no major injuries, which was awesome. So yeah, fantastic weekend. Had a bit of room meat on the barbie in the camp oven, so that was fantastic. Anyway, crap, I better get into it. I've got a few questions here to crack into. First question here: I love the layout of the Charlo, but I don't need the lofts. Can you do it as a single level? Absolutely. Matter of fact, coming through, getting delivered as early as Monday, Tuesday this week, 11 metre by 3 metre tiny home. Single level, it's going to be single level. So this 11 metres is the actual body of the home itself. Then, of course, because the maximum you can actually build a trailer in Australia is 12.5 metres. Now that's from the tip of the hitch itself right to the very back of the tiny home. Okay, so that means, and your hitch is approximately 1.5 metres, your A-frame. So that means the body of the home, the max you can be is 11 metres. So I've done my sums, I've done my calcs on weights and whatnot. Of course, it can't be 2 levels, it's going to be single level. So 11 metres long, 3 metres wide. Now we're talking kitchen, lounge, dining on the ground floor, 1 bedroom, bathroom, another bedroom. 2 bedrooms, ground floor. Wow, so looking forward to cracking this open. We'll be trailer, it's in our build queue. It's probably about another 3 or 4 down the track. So we'll get that cranking, and looking forward to putting that over the scales to see how it stacks up, you know. So, but I've done my sums. I reckon I'm right with weight, but we'll see how it goes. Worst case, I might have to leave a bit of cabinetry out of it for delivery if she blows the weight budget. Okay, is there any other flooring selection than vinyl planks? Yeah, well, I mean, we've done carpet. Obviously the vinyl planks are 100% waterproof. A lot of people, because you're sort of, you might be going out in the bush or something like that, I think carpet's probably got a little bit more high maintenance. So most people do prefer to go for the vinyl planks because they're easy to clean, easy to look after. You can walk inside with your dirty boots, and they are tough as nails. I mean, the stuff we use from Embleton, and we've got about 6 to 8 flooring colours in our standard scheme, and the colours are fantastic. The realisticness of these boards is just like second to none. Like, I love it. It's all about, does it look good? Like, you want it to be functional, but does it look good as well? And the Embleton range that we supply for our tiny homes, huge range. You'll find everything you need in there. But like you said, we can do carpet, but most people do go for the vinyl planks. I'm finding my battery storage is not lasting the night. Can I upgrade our batteries? Yeah, in actual fact, we're sort of swaying away now from our base design package, solar package, because at the end of the day, especially in the peak of summer, plenty of sunshine, no problem. But as you crack into winter, you're getting less sunshine. There's not as the directional sun is further to the north, so you're not getting that as much direct impact on the solar panels. So, which means you're not maxing out your battery storage every evening. So that's going to mean that you're going to have to upgrade the whole battery. So what we're probably advising most people now to go to an upgraded package, which is 6 solar panels, 2 banks of 3, lithium batteries, 4 lithium batteries, and then of course your 5 kilowatt inverter. So, but even in saying that, like I say to most people, I mean, solar is great. I don't want to put it down too much, but at the end of the day, the reason the government subsidises it is because at the end of the day, it can't reproduce itself because it doesn't have the guts. You know, so if you can get if you can get real power, coal-fired power station power, for less than the cost of a solar package, do it. Like, honestly, it's just you think you're going to save a heap of money, but you got to remember, tiny home doesn't use a lot of power anyway. I mean, you got an electric oven, but you can go for a gas oven. But the LED lights and the pump every so often, and stuff like that doesn't use a lot of power. So it'd take you 50 years to make back the potential savings that you're going to make on going solar. So, in all honesty, if you can get real power for less than the cost of the a solar package, go for the real power. So don't be disillusioned and think you're actually going to. It's going to pay for itself in your lifetime, because it won't, you know. So, but in saying that, most people can't get power. They're out in the bush, they're right out in the sticks, and solar is definitely the way to go. Fantastic. And in that case there, it's obviously the best option to actually do, you know. I'll be placing a tiny home in a high wind area. How can I secure it down? Well, a couple of things we do when we do our tiny homes. We actually make them so they're like categories, like cyclone proof. In the respect of the way we apply our panels, which are done horizontally in our tiny homes. That means that each panel runs, like it's an 8.2 metre tiny home. Our panels are 8.2 metres long. So they're going, and then on the corners, we've got 2 millimetre 150 by 100 angles that are bolted into the bottom of the frame, go all the way through the roof, all Sikaflexed and zipped and whatever. She's solid as a rock. And then, of course, we've got our welded hold-down lugs on the tiny home itself. And then what our clients will do in the real high wind areas, there's a couple of different ways. You can use the earth anchors that we can do, or you can actually organise yourself, put a couple of concrete piers in 4 points around the tiny home, 6 if you've got the deck and awning as well, which is simply is probably about a 1.2 metre deep auger hole, 400 mil diameter, some 10 mil gal chain into the auger hole, into the wet concrete, and then once we drive the tiny home on, we just drive it straight over the top of the all the piers, and then we actually de-shackle the tiny home down to the chain that's been pre-organised, you know. So that effectively, I mean, we've got one of those in our front paddock. I mean, we've gone through 120k winds, so it's right up there. So no problem at all securing our tiny homes in the high wind areas. Of course, all the iron is, we do it to suit the Queensland code for cyclone areas, which is all hit and miss with the zips to make sure it actually meets the cyclone code in Queensland. Now, do I need council permission to put my tiny home in the backyard? Well, I mean, this is probably a very common question asked by our clients and people that are just looking into tiny homes. Okay. Long story short, tiny homes, whether it be 2.4, 3 metres or whatever, the definition or council's definition of a tiny home is a relocatable home on a registerable trailer. So our homes, as you're aware, they detach from the trailer, which means then the home itself is on a registerable trailer. We supply blue slips to all of our clients. We used to actually register the trailers. But we're finding, well, that's just an expense you don't need to do. You know, it costs you an extra $1,000 or whatever, $1,200. So we're preferring to save the client a few bucks. So we just supply a blue slip, which means that the trailer has been engineered and is registerable. And then, of course, that means every year you don't have to go and pay another $1,200. So you just, because council, with caravans on properties in New South Wales, it's slightly different in other states. But it doesn't have to be registered. It's just registerable. So, as you know, there's a heaps of people out there with the old, you know, dinosaur caravans in the backyard. So they just leave them. The rego runs out, and they just leave them in the backyard. They're not going up the road. So, so that way it actually meets the council requirements for what a caravan is. So, there you go. What's the longest you can? I've already spoken that one about what's the longest you can build a tiny home. I've already spoken about that, 11 metre. Do you relocate tiny homes? Well, very shortly I'll take possession of the new Hino, 280 horsepower, 4-wheel drive Hino. I'm looking forward to getting that, man. It's going to be a comfort. I'm really looking forward to that, you know. Got a question here from Kobe about trailers. I have a Havenwood home. Do I need to register my tiny home every year? No, Kobe, you do not need to, because council, as I just mentioned, as long as it's registerable, you've obviously got the rego. I think Kobe's, yours was one we actually, yours was actually registered. Yeah, you've got the rego papers. At the end of the day, that means it's registerable. So you don't need to get it re-registered. You're just wasting your money. So if you ever need to relocate it again, honestly, it's got a VIN number, so it's engineered to be on the road. And it costs $30 for a permit to move them. So that's what I do now. I just get permits. It's like when we went out to the Hawkesbury Expo. We had took 9 homes out there. I got 9 permits, easy as. Took all the homes out, brought them back, no problem at all. So they don't need to be registered. So I hope that sort of answers that question. Do we have any speckies for sale? Well, we sold most of our speckies. We've got some. On the last one we have there. Oh, there is this. What is now the spec here? I don't know if you saw it, but Rico had a brain snap during the week, and in my mad rush that I am, forgot to give our team the fine print, which meant that the tiny home had to be built mirror image. So we were too far gone to modify it back to the original, to the client's request. So anyway, there is and that is we've just put that out. I think just before the weekend. So if anyone's keen to jump the queue by about 3 months and get it before Christmas, We have an 8.2 Charlo that we're building. In actual fact, we're just going to leave it at the shell at the moment, and there is a couple of live ones on that at the moment, so that'll probably be sold early this week. Okay, I'm over the plywood interiors. I saw yours is a smooth. Is that gyprock? No one. Those have been following us for a while know that we actually build from refrigeration panels. So this is cool room panel. What that means is we've got a V joint every 1200 mil. There's a little V joint runs all the way through. And we're actually introducing, and it'll be done in one of the speccers we've got coming up very shortly. Might be in the Chapel or another one we're doing. I think it might be the Elliott that I'll be taking up to the Cleveland show in Queensland. We're actually, I've spoken to our suppliers, we're actually doing a V joint panel in all of our paneling. So it costs a few bucks extra, but what it'll do, it just gives that people that option if they want to run with the V joint or go with the smooth. Costs a few extra bucks, but I think it's going to really turn some heads. Because the V joint panel is very, what would you call it? In the tiny home industry, a lot of builders put the V joint paneling on the wall. It looks fantastic. We've, like I said from the start, we've just done the more smooth look. So looking at introducing that just to give people an option. So if you come with Havenwood, we can actually offer that option as well. It doesn't add any extra to the weight of the tiny home, which was one of the main reasons we've never actually applied the V-joint paneling later, because the V-joint paneling, probably the lightest one you can buy is 9mm MDF, which is like weighs a ton at the end of the day. When you fill a whole tiny house with it, gets super heavy, you know. So looking at introducing that very shortly. Do you know of any tiny home rental properties in northern New South Wales? You know what? We just delivered a tiny home for a young lady down well past Goulburn during the week. At the end of the day, what she done, she used her own initiative. She actually did a door knock around she went to an area that she wanted to be in. Okay? She did up an A4 flyer on herself, photo, rental history, what she was up to, and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, she sold herself. Like, this is me. Put in a heap of mailboxes around the area where she wanted to go. And when she was knocked over with people say, come and see me, yeah, come and put it on my place. So you just got to use your initiative, because out there, don't hold back your tiny house journey because you don't have somewhere to put it. Because guess what? There's a mountain of farmers out there. There's a mountain of people out there. They'll take 100, 150 bucks a week. In the higher profile areas, probably be 200 bucks. Around the Jamberoo area, it's probably the going rate's about 200 bucks a week. But further down south, up north, 100, 150 bucks a week. I mean, man, you could be on multi-million dollar farms. 100 bucks, 150 bucks a week. Man, it doesn't get any better than that. So use your initiative. Hannah did this. She's got a great farmer. Met him during the week when I delivered the tiny home. And it's just a great way to move forward without worrying about where you're going to put it, you know. So keep that in mind. If all that's holding you back is because you don't have somewhere to put it, either contact me, I can give you the heads up on how to do it, or just take that leap of faith and just do it. Because, like I say to people, if you don't press the button, that's never going to happen. You've got to commit. You've got to jump across the line and just say, you know what, I'm doing this. I don't want to pay $1 million. I don't want to borrow $1 million to go and buy a home somewhere. I don't want to get caught in this rental. In the mortgage drama, you know. So look at doing this. If you're going to do it, just press the button, make it happen. It's exciting. I mean, all my clients, no one's regretted it. They're loving it. They're just loving life. So make it happen. So okay, I'm just researching my tiny house companies for my build. Sell me on why I should buy yours. Okay, well, hey, there's some great builders out there. Make no mistake, there's some fantastic builders out there. I think there's a couple of points from a Havenwood purchase that really stand out. I mean, all of our trailers are all structural aluminium. A couple of things with that. Basically, got a lifetime guarantee on the trailers. It's lighter, it's stronger. We then build from refrigeration panels. Now, refrigeration panels are the best insulation you can get. That's why they build cool rooms from it, okay? They don't build it from fiberglass insulation with timber studs and all this sort of stuff. They build it from cool room panel. So not only does it have the best insulation qualities, but it also has the the acoustic qualities as well. I reckon I mean, I'm guessing here, but we live, our tiny house village is on a highway, so heaps of noise and that, you know. So you just close the windows, close the door, and it just deadens the sound. I mean, I'd go so far as to say 50%. You know, it's unbelievable. The other big thing with our homes, we get no condensation in our homes. Okay, I've heard people have struggling with condensation in their tiny homes, but with a Havenwood home, we have not had one client concerned or having condensation issues in the actual home itself. So that's really sorry. Now, don't ask me why. I'm not a wizard when it comes to this stuff, but I believe it's to do with the polystyrene and the fact the way that we actually insulate the homes with the cavity on the outside with the sark and whatnot. So, but ultimately we don't have any trouble with the condensation. So that's pretty pretty awesome as well. I think the other big thing with the Havenwood homes is because we do go up to 3 meters wide. What that does, it really it means your beds. I think this is critical when it comes to tiny homes. The big thing, because every day you're going to go to bed, every morning you're going to get up, every morning you're going to make your bed. So I look at it and sort of think, man, I'm a bit of an old dinosaur now, and the last thing I want to do, g'day Nick, how you going, mate? The last thing I want to do is crawl out of bed and have you ever tried to put fitted sheets with a bed pushed up against the wall on your knees? Man, it's near impossible. I mean, you can do it. I mean, it's great to stay for a weekend, but if you've got to do it week after week. So I think that's another big selling point of a Havenwood home is that we design all of our master bedrooms so they're actually island beds. Now, what I mean by island bed is that means you can actually walk all the way around the bed. So stand up out of bed and walk around the bed to be able to make your bed with the fitted sheets and stuff. So that's a huge plus, you know. So so that's really good. But hey, listen, I'll actually smash through my questions. I've just seen our visitors just have arrived. We've got a bit of a shindig going on this evening, so looking forward to cracking in a bit of tucker and a bit of fellowship. And but I've covered all my questions. But hey, listen, if you've got any questions during the week, give us a call. Remember, we do have that Charlo model. It's not going to last long. It's at a shell at the moment, so you've got a full opportunity to choose your external wall colours, your window colours, your flooring colours, all that sort of stuff, and some mild modifications if you want to. So if you're keen to look at that, give us a call on that as well. And hey, I'm done. Uru.